Everyone. I'm here from EdChanger to present our Relationships and Community webinar. EdChanger's mission is to scale and sustain instructional systems driven by data and analytics because while public education in America is not failing due to our resilient educators, it often feels like a crisis. This crisis is repairable, but it requires moving past quick fixes and initiative fatigue to focus on building and maintaining systems over time. The idea that systems equals hope stems from a belief that hope is not a strategy. It's having a logical next step in any situation. Education needs a data-driven, systematic approach. At EdChanger, we support educators with a system of classroom practices built on data analytics, feedback, and high-quality resources to create accessible coaching for all teachers in a way that acknowledges them as the experts of their students and makes them agents of their own learning. Coherent systems always provide a logical next step. For example, if a classroom feels cold, I might increase positive feedback. Dull, I might increase opportunities to respond. Chaotic, install routines. And that idea of a logical next step brings us to our first practice of community and relationship practices. Why focus on building community and relationships? Strong communities foster growth. When people learn together, they benefit from each other's strengths and weaknesses. For example, a student strong in math and another in reading can learn from each other. Collaborative learning also builds trust. Students worried about bullying or the uncertainty of people around them that they don't know may cause them to struggle to engage. Trust reduces anxiety and conflict and increases productivity. The third I call the teamwork effect. Knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses boosts productivity. A group where one student excels at speaking, another at design, and a third at organization will create stronger presentations than individuals working alone. There are 4 essential relationships in a classroom. Early in my career, I often heard it's all about relationships, usually interpreted to mean the student to teacher relationship. While some educators excel at this, the phrase sometimes led to being overly friendly with students or hesitating to give corrective feedback or even discipline. But relationships extend beyond student to teacher. Students also connect with the content, their peers, and technology. Strong learning environments leverage all 4 of these things. The analogy I use is, as a coach, the best teams I was on weren't just connected to me, they loved each other and loved the game. But I also learned that any of these relationships can be an entry point for an engagement in learning. Here are some strategies to support those relationships. For the student to teacher relationship, greeting students daily fosters connection, and even a 2-minute interaction over 10 days can build deeper rapport. For the student to student relationship, encourage student talk and collaborative activities. A compliment mixer where students write positive notes to each other builds joy and trust. For student to content, make learning relevant. If content matters to students, engagement follows. Rigor can also create connection. Student to technology is a little bit more difficult, but it means teaching boundaries for tech use and providing meaningful opportunities for students to use technology successfully. Our relationships and community framework offers many high leverage strategies for any situation as far as building relationships goes, and I'll give you some examples of that on the last slide. In education, relationships follow 3 phases: establish, maintain, and restore. While this framework makes sense, many educators wonder, establish, maintain, restore, yeah, that makes sense, but how do I do that? At EdChanger, we define the process to be more actionable as getting to know each other, working hard together, and experiencing shared joy. The comfort of knowing each other leads to collaboration. Shared accomplishments strengthen bonds, and gradually increasing challenges deepens engagement. And again, at EdChanger, we use data analytics and high-quality materials to optimize instructional systems. Our relationship data framework aligns with that established, maintain, and restore model brought to us by Cook et al. And research suggests that students should enter the maintenance phase quickly with 85 to 95% stability by 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm going to show you how we use the games on our app for our Moneyball approach to instruction. But I want to start by saying this data should only be used for growth and not evaluative. So again, you're going to log into our app and choose a teacher. We're going to be in Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln's class today. And I'm going to choose the community and data game. And the first thing is, which this game is very intuitive, but each game has an instructions tab on it that's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Again, we call these things games, but really they're data collection tools. So it's going to explain what you need to know to collect the data. This one's pretty simple. I'm going to tap EMR for each student, and it's going to define what EMR means and give us that optimal data point. For this game, I give two suggestions. One, I could, as a teacher, just go down my class list and tap EMR for establish, maintain, and restore to give my perspective on relationships in the classroom. Or I could also find a way to ask students, what is your relationship with the classroom community? And for each one, tap EMR to give myself that data. And as you can see, when I'm done, I'm going to press end, and it's going to give me an exact number of how many students are in each phase and the opportunity to send that data to the teacher with high quality resources. At EdChanger, our motto is systems equals hope because there's always a logical next step for improving classrooms. The quotes, haste is anti-community and the deepest bonds are born in the hottest fires, should provide some hope in knowing that if my classroom feels contentious or disconnected, I should slow down and build those relationships. Or if I want to create deeper bonds with my students, increasing the rigor and challenge while also increasing shared joy is going to build a deeper connection. Those could be logical next steps that provide hope. A logical next step for you in your practice may be going to edchanger.com or finding this icon on the App Store and downloading our app. If you've collected data on your community and it points to moving on, you may move to the next practice of intentionally planning routines or just diving into the EdChanger Hub and looking for the next logical step for you. And for each of our practices, the EdChanger Hub includes a resource framework that has a one-pager and a webinar that explains the practice and first steps towards implementation and refinement. It includes a Tier 1 strategies document that are strategies for teaching all students or an entire class, and a Tier 2 strategies for students who need targeted support. If your data suggests refining this practice, I'd suggest diving into our community and relationships resource framework and looking at some of our resources. So here's some examples of logical next steps if data suggests refining community and relationships. The first is this resource framework always includes a paper monitoring form. That resource framework that I talked about, so one-page description. But again, a logical next step for me if I want to refine my community and relationships might be just going to this Tier 1 strategies document, looking at all of the Tier 1 strategies that we have to offer, and making sure I'm doing all of these things. It might be looking at our class components, so diving into individual components of our resources, and I may decide to install the routine of community circles and use these resources to do that. Or I may just spend more time with community building activities, and so I could just grab this quick list, which has about 30 just quick communication and discussion activities that can support building community. So again, at EdChanger, our goal is to provide a logical next step in any situation because we want to support our educators. And again, all of those things are available for less than $3.50 per month from our app that can be found on our website or at this icon in the App Store. But last, I want to say teachers are some of the most incredible people in the world and fully the reason our system is repairable. Thank you for everything you do to support our communities. We appreciate you. Then finish with citations. Again, at EdChanger, I say that idea of a Moneyball approach to education comes from this book, Moneyball, and the movie Wonderful Books and Sources. But again, the idea is that we have established that system of data and analytics to support growth. Moneyball approach is kind of a fun way to say it, but this story is wonderful. And then I'll cite Cook et al. For that establish, maintain, and restore method. Such a great source and such a great method. It's so nice to be intentional about my classroom and just say, like, those students are in the established phase. I need to build some trust before they can really collaborate deeply. Or we're now in the maintain phase. I can push those students a little bit harder for deeper learning and growth. Or I need to repair something with those students before I push them. There's some harm that occurred. So that method is really helpful in education. Thank you so much for your work.